Hi, everybody, and welcome to our full album review of Mick Jenkins' brand new EP, I guess, called The Circus. But we're doing an album review because they're all album reviews. Yeah! Anyhow, what we do over here is, this the Headspace podcast, is we go through these albums track by track, such as Mick Jenkins' The Circus, all 7 songs of it, and we'll give our thoughts and opinions on, you guessed it, every single song. My name is Holden Stephan Roy.
And my name is Chris Chrome. What up, guys?
And, that's where we're at with this. So this is our show, and we care a lot about y'all feedback, and we recognize the fact that y'all probably bigger Mick Jenkins fans than whatnot, because usually people who click on long reviews are the dedicated fans, so big ups to y'all for being so cool like that and showing the dude love via caring about his album review. Or I guess, maybe that was convoluted. I am a teensy bit under the weather because Montreal open here has terrible weather, and it makes us all sick multiple times throughout this year. And so that's where we're at with it. But we do care a lot about the comments. It means a lot to us that we had some community. But in general, we don't have what happened last weekend. See, last weekend, we reviewed 2 separate projects. One was Lil Darky's This Does Not Exist. And as you can see over here, as it flashed up, Lil Darky over here shared it on Twitter, which was really, really cool of Lil Darky. He also said he would be open to an interview. Very, very cool. Also, we talked about the new strange music dude, Jerry Robinson, and he shared our stuff on Twitter. And I was like, that's never happened. It's never happened that both the dudes we covered shared our reviews. So that was really dope. It made me feel very happy and whatnot. And in a sense now, somebody at Strange Music is following us. I mean, that's not fake.
No, that's cool.
That's a literal thing. And I know it doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people maybe, but I guess to humble little Montreal dude up here to have some degree of connection to Tech 9 is, because if you believe in 6 degrees of separation, that's where by the connections of people you know, you're like far away from them. Mm-hmm. I'm technically now a lot closer to Tech 9 than I've ever been in my life based on that concept of networking and shit.
But I mean, like, isn't that the same idea with Big Ghost LTD when we did Griselda, who shouted out that project? Like,
and I mean, like, even if he's not in Griselda, he like worked with the dudes. I actually don't know if he's in Griselda. Still, it's like, it's crazy. Just the opportunities that exist in like the intangible stuff. Like, the numbers will never show these kinds of experiences the way that like you have. Anyway, so I just feeling humbled by that stuff. But y'all let me know in the comments what you think about it. And kudos to all the people out there who actually share our reviews with the artists and stuff on the internet or whatnot. And that's real cool of y'all. And before we get into it, a quick shout out to the patrons: Ismail Gadamsi, Chris Brando, Jonathan Barnes, DJ Black, Hurricane, Linda Williams, Cody Sparks, Scribble. I keep messing that up. We'll touch on that at the end, but it's not a plug. We gotta thank these people. Without them, there wouldn't be the show quite the way it is today. On that note, Mr. Christopher, why don't you introduce the album that we are going to be talking about again another time?
Is this a main episode or a bonus? I don't know what episode
Who cares? Just talk.
Well, whatever. For this week's Headspace podcast review, we went with Mick Jenkins' new EP album, whatever, The Circus.
That's a cool name. So this is the part of the show where we like to contextualize our familiarity with each artist, and that way you know how like where we're at with it. We found along the way that sometimes if we came out too pretentious or whatever, people didn't like it, and I also came to realize like if you've been a fan since like the very beginning versus if you're just discovering an artist, like the whole experience of listening to a project is super different. Mm-hmm. However, this is not the first time we have talked about Mick Jenkins over on this channel. We did cover his album
Pieces of a Man.
Yeah, that one where that was a cool experience. I was really impressed with his abilities, like his versatility. Like, I felt like it was like one of those reviews where like I remembered fondly the music, you know? And then it was enough that when I saw Mick Jenkins drop this project, I was like, I would like to review this over other things. Mm-hmm. And I'm okay with it being a little short. I'm feeling like it's nice to have a couple shorter ones instead of those giant albums. Just this week. We'll take some giant stuff next week. Mm-hmm. I just I don't know a lot about him per se, but except that I think he's a true artist of a sense. Like, the impression I have of him is not like he cares necessarily about the numbers. More he cares about producing a particular thing. Like he has a vision for what he's doing, and it makes me curious more about his music. Like I want to go listen to him more the more I've delved into him, I guess. Spoilers. What about you?
Well, I feel the same way. I like how he kind of stays true to himself, I feel, because I don't hear a lot about him in terms of just like the news, hip-hop news or whatnot. But there is certain things that we'll talk about throughout the project when we do the review that I think really brings out his uniqueness. I do like his rapping on Pieces of a Man. I do like the way he presented himself on that project. I do remember a lot of the sounds and just kind of the vibes that we were getting. It didn't seem so mainstream or nothing like that. It just felt very Mick Jenkins, really. Like
it felt musical.
Yes.
And I feel that got brought over to this album too, which is pretty exciting.
Absolutely. But I was excited. It wasn't one of those albums that like, because I felt like when we did Pieces of a Man, it was a new artist, and I was like, I don't know how to feel about this or whatnot. But this project, going into it, I was like, oh, I'm excited to see what he's going to do, because I really like that other project he did as well.
That's the classic case of how it works in music, where often when you encounter something new for the first time, you don't necessarily like it as much as when you hear it later. So in theory, if you were to hear an album and be like, this is garbage or trash, but then like pretend you never heard it and play it again for the first time, which would obviously be your second time, a week later, like palate cleanse, you'd probably have like a slightly greater like and appreciation, even if you weren't like fully aware of it. And if you kept doing that exercise, within like a year, you would inevitably, maybe not that album, but stuff that sounded like that album, you would find yourself being drawn to and liking. And it's weird how our brains work like that. In a sense, it's almost like being a circus, because that just makes me picture the chaos of today. If we move into the title, it's like just that's it. Like life's a circus. It's almost ridiculous. It's fucked up. And if you look at like the cover, it's not a happy circus. It's more like the Shriner Circus, where they abuse the fucking animals and shit. And I'm not a big fan of circuses, honestly. I don't get. I like the idea of the hologram ones Germany has, but like, I don't know. You look at that cover and it's barbaric, right? Like it's this little elephant kind of standing in this flaming thing, like he has no choice, and then Mick Jenkins almost like being forced to like perform on top of it, while like the elephant has like this teacup that it's balancing, and it's just like this ridiculous act. And that might be like how almost a representation of how he feels about the game and the career and the industry and life as a person in this day and age, and especially if you're like an entertainer or whatnot. It's just, I thought it was a cool one, and I actually just like the art style and the way it's illustrated. Like it kind of looks like somebody drew it, but like I don't know, like not necessarily painted, but like just drew it in a cool way, and I respect. I don't know, it's a nice cover.
I do as well. Like the cover of the album, I kind of look at it as because the whole title of the circus and just the chaoticness of it really is kind of just, I think, very blunt. It's like obviously you can kind of see that. When I look deeper into it, I kind of see like you have to be everything has to be extravagant. Like the fact that you've got this elephant, like this big elephant, right, which we can think of like the elephant in the room. There's going to be certain things that we need to discuss and bring up to topics, but I feel like the way he's presenting it is like, not only do you have this big elephant majestic creature, but now you have to top it off with the little teacups, these little details that make it way more extravagant. And I feel like he's trying to bring to light, like, we're not satisfied with very just simple uniqueness or simple things. Like, you need to always be like again, you have the elephant, you have the fire, you've got the teacup, you got him on top of it. It's like you always have to be one up. You always have to level up to the next thing. And I don't know. It just that to me screams chaos, because it's like we're never satisfied.
Definitely. All right. So I guess without further ado, we can jump into the circus by describing how the circus is really just the same old, and we can even double it up. The same old, same old. What I love about this instrumental, produced by Hit Boy, and yo, it is a hit, boy. So I don't know. I love the producer names. Maybe we should do and if you guys have interest in this, let us know. Just a reaction to like a list of like 500 producer names. and what you expect their sound to be like,
Right.
just based on the name.
Right.
I don't know. And then we can check after and see if we were right off camera because of copyright shit.
Right.
Anyway, what do you think about this track?
I think it was a nice, solid way to kind of start the album. Just kind of the way we were talking about the chaoticness of the album cover and the title and stuff. And then he comes in with this, like, noise, this sound, this eeriness to the way that the track starts, which I thought was really, really cool. And right away you're taken out from your real world and you're kind of brought into his world, which I really find is effective when albums are able to do that, and I kind of like get sucked into the music itself. So that was something really cool. I like the use of pianos on this song, just because the way that the piano keys kind of come in on this off timing flow really kind of match up with the way that Mick Jenkins just kind of starts and goes in. So we start off, the intro is just Hit Boy. I think it's just like the producer tag or whatever. And then the verse comes in. And what I really like about how Mick Jenkins starts his verse is he just kind of is very straight up with what he says, right? I step in rooms where people don't know who I am. Leave out felt, that's on me. I got that shit in my pants, but I know my belt is on me.
No, but that's like really interesting right there, right?
Right.
Like what I took from that is just like he goes into places where people don't know who he is, you know, and then you go leave out felt. And when you kind of, it's not very clear, right, what he's saying, but what I take from that is he ends up leaving the room. People still don't know who he is. He's feeling, you know, a negative kind of way. But then there's that acknowledgement of that's on me. Because did he, like, make any moves to, like, change it up? And then, you know, following it up, like, I got that shit in my pants, but I know the belt is on me. Like, he's ready to pop off, but he's almost, like, constrained by it. It's just, like, I don't know. To me, this is great writing.
It was really interesting because I had that same type of view as well. Like, it seems like he's been through a lot already, just with those couple of bars, that he should be known. And there's this ideology of, like, I've been through certain shit that people should know who I am. But I think it's also this struggle of, like, not wanting to discuss what you've been through and then not being acknowledged for what you've been through, which is interesting.
But I think, I hear what you're saying, but, like, I think it's that last little bit that it goes, the reason they don't know who you are is because you didn't tell them who you are. There's almost like this beat down, like there's some game or there's some like bigger, you know, like force that like you have to play into in order to have it. And it's like, this is like this reluctance to be that person. Maybe I'm just projecting here, but that's kind of, I liked it. It just made me think like that.
I mean, I can kind of see that because I feel, he kind of flows on. I know my homies like, wait, they'll hold me down if I say so. Could hold me back if they tried. I'm 6'5", stepping twice your stride if I marched in place.
I love that.
I really like how he plays with that there. But it's interesting how
I'm
5'7".
It really does take me 2 strides to keep up with somebody of that height. It's just a literal fucking height thing.
But it's interesting how he's kind of like saying all this, like, I'm bigger than you, I'm tougher than you, I'm stronger than you, in that like physical aspect, but like also having these self-conscious doubts about himself.
So I took that more like, y'all are trying to say you have my back, but at the end of the day, it's like how I live my life at an accelerated rate, where one of my steps is worth 2 of yours. And I don't mean that in like a negative way. I mean it more like you guys can't help because you can't even keep up. And it's almost like he's feeling exasperated by the lack of support per se, just because other people honestly are just not full of shit, but they're diluted enough to believe they fully understand and can help, you know. Or maybe I'm again reading into it, but that's what we do here.
Fair enough. I do kind of flows through. I don't know if there's anything else that you had in mind.
Of course. There's literally Spider-Man bars that you're glossing over, and that bothers me a little bit because it's fucking Spider-Man.
I mean, go ahead.
Staying in the sun, I need that darker face. They see me now. It's not that Peter Parker face, but people eyes wide. I wouldn't call it Spidey sense. It's just sticky fingers, especially when I'm around a goofy fly guy. So I like that because it's almost like people don't see necessarily the real him. He's kind of like masked out, right? And again, it's that metaphor. I feel like, especially as you kind of advance in your life, you're almost forced to adopt 2 personalities. There's the person you really are, who you can be around people who like are willing to understand your idiosyncratic quirks and crap. And then like is the person you're kind of like forced to be as part of the charade of the masquerade of life. And I love how he uses like the idea, like, I'm not Peter Parker, you know, I'm not that, but at the same time I can tap into my spidey sense when I'm around these preposterously behaving individuals. And I like how he chooses goofy fly guy, because when you look at certain fly efforts, it often comes off goofy if you don't share the same end goals. So I know a lot of people who literally the be all end all of their life is like, I'm gonna get rich and cop that nice shit. I just don't understand it. To me, it's goofy to put thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars into superfluous bullshit when you could be buying superfluous technology, which I totally think is a great waste of money. Buy a Tesla. That makes sense. Buying a Lambo? Is it electric? Buy it. If it's not electric, I don't get it. But that's because I'm motivated by different shit. So I kind of like the sense that his values elicit the spidey sense when he encounters people of different values, you know? And then he has humility. I got that fear of God too. To me, that's always going to be a humility thing. Then, me invested the first quarter advance from BMI too. So I clicked on the Genius annotation here. And that means he invested in Broadcast Music Inc., so thank you, Genius contributor, head of No State, for your fine thing. But it's a music rights organization that seeks to represent songwriters in emerging genres and protect the public performance of their music. So basically what he's saying is he invested in this company that serves to help artists that are kind of in his lane, and he's not just pursuing his own shit materialistically. He instead is taking his success and funneling it back into helping others, which is just extremely admirable. And then he built a 1967 Mustang, which is what I got from its DIY too. So it just shows he's like, I didn't cop that Mustang. I slowly, like almost responsibly, made it a project to build that Mustang so that it's not like, you know, the same thing as what you're doing. So he differentiates himself from the pack. But what's amazing about this track is while he's kind of, I like this shit because I think indie rappers need to pay attention here. You know how I like to go on about the indie rapper checklist where they gotta take shots at mumble rappers and crap. And I think that's a boring approach. I think a song like this where you kind of cop the style, in a sense, this is a very modern rap sounding song. But when I listen to the values he presents within this track and kind of puts out how he's living, I'm like, this is really like stuff I can get behind. So it's almost like, I don't know, I guess just in this vein of airy, trappy kind of pop sounds, it gives me something more like substance-filled and tangible. But it also is taking shots at other ways of life that he feels are kind of weird, but does it by like maintaining the high ground.
But I think
so it comes off mad artistic and cool because it's really just his isolation, but it's because he has the higher ground, you know? Like, it's not the other way around.
I see that, but I also think he's making a commentary on who's real and who's not in terms of what they claim, though. Because even later on in the verse, right? Like, heard it rockin' everywhere, homies don't know where it happened, heard it cost them everything just to be out there capping. Heard it's a new era now, heard them homies still clapping, so these people still acting wow. I feel like he's addressing that shit is changing, but the game and the same old is like, you don't really own that Ferrari, you don't really own that chain, you don't really own, like, these are all just fronts and fakes that are like acts that are still clout chasing or whatever you want to consider it.
But like, I like the fact that what he's pointing out in a sense in that little part with the instruction booklet is kind of showing how he was able to just accidentally pave his own way almost by like staying true to himself, you know? Like, there's no secret, and there really is no secret to this. It's you kind of move forward and it works. Then when it pops off and he starts to have that like success starting to come through for him, and other people are kind of having this other fake stuff going on, he's kind of commentating like it's a shame that at the end of the day the game is still in this kind of state. And then, you know, he goes into that chorus, game don't switch, you know, this shit don't stop, money gonna come, money gonna go, somebody catching if it drop. And then he kind of like ends that on like at the end of the day it's all the same kind of thing. And I like that. He kind of like addresses that. It's almost like in a depressing way that the first part of the circus is that people are materialistic, but he does it in a way that separates himself from the pack without sounding like a petulant, jealous hater. There's nothing about this track that makes me go, Mick Jenkins is jealous.
Because I think it's also that there is this, he carries this. I feel like he carries this understanding of like what the actual, I guess, facade of the game is. Like because I know what you're saying in terms of like hater jealousy, like you got what I don't have and stuff like that, or like I'm out here being a better rapper. But I think that comes back to Mick Jenkins being like, I have my vision and I'm gonna do what it takes for me to go. And if like you want to follow the acting and the clout chasing and all that and not be authentic to yourself or be real to yourself, that's fine. I'm gonna do what I'm doing, which clearly divides him.
Yeah, because it sounds like he's confident and he's getting his without having to like compromise himself. Either way, I give it a 4.25. I really do love the comment, but it does kind of feel a little bit like just from a style point of view, I feel like Mick Jenkins doing it is satirical almost. I'm not saying I haven't listened to enough of his catalog, honestly, but I feel like him doing this is trying to jump on that pop sound to make a point, because the way the album metamorphizes, it like changes away from this particular sound. I love what he did with it. I'm giving it a 4.25. I do think there are better tracks on this project.
I gave it a 4.2. I thought it was a solid start.
And this is just our carefree approach to album reviews. Doop-be-doop-boop-boo. I like the part of the music video where you get like this top down of the cop car showing up in the second verse, because it's kind of cool when he touches on that stuff, right? Like how he like pulled me over about my whip, like how you get it, whatever. So in the music video, it like coincides with that. And then the cops are like coming in and like highlights on the lights and stuff, and he's just being like flashed on. And I'm like, man, just that imagery, like it must be. I never really thought about it, because I can't say there's a lot of media where I feel like I've looked straight into the flashlights of cops like that in a dark background. Just the angle it had, like almost like POV porn, but for that moment, right? So you're looking at these flashlights, and I'm like, holy shit, man. Let's say I was sitting there standing in the streets and cops had these flashlights and guns pointed out at me. That must be absolutely fucking terrifying.
I mean, I feel like it's an intimidation approach, right? Like they want to kind of, I'm going to say blind, but it's not to like actively
No, you're
blind
absolutely right. It's fucking intimidation. Like, it's militaristic. Yeah. It's fucking scary. And no wonder like people have trouble keeping their composure and just obeying commands and shit. Because when you have scary motherfuckers who statistically might shoot you coming at you like that in the dark and shit, I was like, that's a cool use of visuals. Because honestly, if y'all watch my shit, you know I'll barely talk about music videos. In fact, I don't remember the rest of the music video. But I do remember that scene and that imagery and just how cool it was that when it was all frozen, he just like walks away. Like, that's like, it just absolves the confrontation. It doesn't escalate. I thought that was cool. But that's still, like, anyway, there's still a song. And I like this song too, man.
How do you feel with it? Come on.
The chorus is hype, man.
Right.
I was out to dry. You know, but it's cool how he's like kind of talking about how he's like sobered up. He's kind of off over there, but he's smoking in the video. So I believe he still smokes pot at this point, just because there was.
Well, I know. I don't think it's off literally. Like we were zoning off drugs. We was off the drugs. We was off the drink.
I actually took that like I was sober from these substances.
No. I think it's more like that because
because that makes sense. Got nothing to hide. I'm witness because we all fucked up, faded, cruising, got nothing to hide, whatever. She by my side, we both, and it's just a hook, man. It's just nice. That melody, I like it.
But it does have this feel of like kind of reminiscent. It doesn't feel like this is something present. This is something like I feel like if I was talking with him, he would be like, "Yo, we were vibing off the drugs on this summer night. We were doing this in the block parties and stuff." Like that's how I kind of took the chorus.
And then I like how he starts off the verse and gets real serious with it. If you don't look like this, if you live in carefree, then you probably don't look like us. I kind of get that line now. I as a white dude can live carefree. Like it's kind of unreal, right? Like how different the realities must be. And when I started like going down the mind fuck of trying to understand what it was like to not be so white, you know, like white male and shit. Like there's just some shit. Like I walk out in the street at 2 a.m. and I have zero fear about anything. I can kind of do a lot more things without having to worry. And I realized that just the lack of stress of wondering if something's gonna happen to me during that walk, during that time, I get to like use that same time that somebody else has to worry about their life to just like brainstorm or whatever, which means that I'm honestly just gifted with more focused time simply because I can live carefree. So it's stuff like that I think about a lot when I hear lyrics like that. And I think it's cool because it's not being like white dudes have an easier life. It's just like pointing out that if you're living carefree, putting out a specific variable that taps into some of the more deep things of like where white privilege really kicks in, then you probably don't look like us.
I took it a different way. I took it more like, if you're living carefree, you ain't chasing your goals. You ain't striving. You ain't worried about achieving and doing all this stuff because everything's just gonna work out. However, things kind of fall into place for you. You're okay. You're carefree about it as long as you're waking up and blah 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 blah. You're good. But like Mick Jenkins, it seems like the way I kind of took it as like, if you live in carefree, then you probably don't look like us. I took that more materialistically. Now, I'm not saying that Mick Jenkins is a materialistic person. I'm just saying I kind of took it as like, you ain't in the nice cars. You ain't in the nice clothes. You don't care about your appearance. You don't care about what happens to you. You don't care about where your future might end up. Then you ain't going to be doing what we do. And when we care about what we want and how we're going to move forward.
I mean, on the other end of it, it could be like if you're living like that so lavishly and materialistically, so carefree, then you don't look like us because we're not that. Because I don't feel like Mick Jenkins is very materialistic. Yes, he's got a whip and, a nicer car, but it's not like, seriously, that'll happen with like the low end of nice cars. It's not like... it just has to be new, and cops will be starting to ask questions at that point. But like when I look at this, it's like, damn person, let me cook right quick on the beach, couple people we was cool and just about dust, shawty never smoked kush like this, some fire ass music playing, grinding on me, I had to push back, right back, reflex, respect. So it's almost like, he kind of puts out this situation where he's not painting the picture of being out there on the beach, everybody's getting all fucked up, ladies there, no suspect shit, came late, goofy people missed the sunset, we ain't give a fuck, got the backwoods though.
But back it up for a second, right? Damn homie, let me cook right quick on that beach. Oh, like a barbecue.
Yeah.
I always thought like.
Why? Like a barbecue makes more sense. It's literally talking about good times and shit. Wow. We was faded. I'm with the girl. We got on the high. We having a good time. Let me tell you something. You're cooking up rock in the kitchen. You got something to hide. Just throwing it out there. Anyway, so we ain't never give a fuck. Jot, these people would have been upset. So it sounds like no suspect shit. Then somebody came late. Some goofy people missed the sunset. We ain't give a fuck. Got the backwards though. Jot, these people would have been upset. Only hit it 2 times because they know the paper's more of her speed she could fuck with. And it sounds like he's reasonably consuming an amount of marijuana to control his vibe in this point, And I said we didn't want no smoke, so when the cops popped up, it was pop smoke. People proceeded to get the fuck shit. I ain't worried about dying for speaking my mind to keep on calling it tough shit. So look what happens here. From what I interpret it, they're having a good time at the barbecue and whatnot, right? And they're just trying to have a nice vibe. Everything's cool. Some cool ladies grinding on them. Some goofy people, some suspect people show up, start causing some drama. In turn, the cops pull up, and now the situation's escalating where he's just like, I'm not worried about dying for speaking my mind at this point. So now it's like a tense situation, but he's just kind of being real and true to himself. I didn't do too much, just rough shit. Whole time it really was too much shit. Playing that shit right, it's some tough shit. They don't know which one to fuck with. It's just some shit we stuck with. So really that verse is pointing out, like, if you don't have to live with the fear of going to a barbecue and having the cops show up and potentially killing you, then you're living carefree and you ain't got that stress.
That's crazy. I did not kind of catch it this way.
And then it totally makes sense with the second verse where it's like, damn person, let me breathe. Damn person, let me cook. Give me space. So quick to shoot. No Devin Book. I don't actually look up who Devin Book is, but I believe just from context it's probably somebody that faced an unfortunate circumstance with the police. But you get the sense where it's like, let me live my life. Stop fucking calling the cops. Stop bringing it over. Can't even look in my face. Can't even play it straight. These people crooks. They player hate. I'm on my shit. Pull me over on my whip.
Devin Book. I think it's Devin Booker, who's an American basketball player. So I think he's like a 3-point shooter or whatnot. Oh, so no shoot, fair. No Devin Book.
Anyway, so cops pull him over, question him about the whips. he bought it, here's the ticket for the tints, like it's like, or he got a ticket for the tints because apparently tints give you tickets. So he tinted the lens, the glass. Y'all know what that means. That might seem too intense, but I ain't with this in 2 months. The first day back down some shit. It's like I haven't had my car, whatever. The first time I'm back in the city, they're already harassing me. And I kind of like how he took the entire vibe of this track to really focus in on just, again, what it is to exist as a black person, being harassed by the cops or having this stress constantly in your mind of the police fucking up a good time over misunderstandings and shit. So I thought this one was a much more powerful message. It was a crazy flow. It reminded me a bit of like a J. Cole kind of vibe, in terms of like the overall sound and waviness to this whole track, and it was nicer to me. So it got a 4.35. I felt like we moved up in quality on this one.
I also gave it a 4.3 on 5. I thought it was a really good song. I did appreciate how it had this like summer night vibe to it, and it kept me, again, consistent with being not in my own reality. Like I really pictured myself being like just outside on summer nights and really just kind of seeing the city a little bit and seeing how people move around. I didn't quite catch the nuance of like being particularly black. I kind of felt it was just maybe
at this point. Do you catch the nuance of that?
Yes,
track?
now I do. Yes,
that's what's important.
I'm saying like at first glance, I didn't catch.
You know what? That's actually a cool point. It means Mick Jenkins writes layered. It's almost like you're not supposed to catch what he means at first. I mean, maybe you are. I'll admit it took a couple of listens for the general purpose of this track to kick in, because it's like you have to think music, and I like that.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know. I cut you off.
Well, I was just saying, like, I kind of, like, everything that you were saying about it also really just connects to. I was just kind of thinking it more of, like, if you're going to be out there kind of vibing off drugs and not really doing what you got to do, then, yeah, shit's going to happen. There's going to be consequences.
Absolutely not the point of this track.
Right. Well, now I know.
Because, yeah, not every time a rapper says cooking does it have to refer to drugs, Christopher. Anyway, now you see the light. So last year, the fine folk at Dreamville put out a group project where they invited all the people in, and part of the people is EARTHGANG. Hell, EARTHGANG might even be signed to Dreamville. I don't even fucking know. Either way, EARTHGANG's up on this track, and I know who they are because they were on that project. And I really feel that what they did on that project is to the same caliber of what I heard on this track, because this track, like the Johnny Venus guy in particular, right? So first of all, he's talking to a fucking gnat.
Yeah, they're signed to Dreamville.
Like a fucking little insect, like a fucking gnat is in the room, and he's like, "You got something to tell me, Nat?" And I thought that was fucking hilarious. It was like he's fucking gone on something, but I guess he's not. But
it plays into the whole like EARTHGANgy, you know.
And then Johnny Venus, and in my opinion, you can disagree, came off with a very Andre 3000-esque poetry verse, and I kind of really like that. Like, cuff my nuts, place myself on house arrest, locked in, judge, jury, bailiff, bet. And so right off the jump, it sounds like either it's the people or himself or something in life is inhibiting, judging him, just laying it down right away. But the way he just has that flow and just airy and spaced out, I don't know, it really attracted me in a positive way. When it rains, I'm dry. Sun shines, I'm wet. Life's a juxtaposition of opposites. Frustrating. Push-up, demons, fuck it, doing about 50, 11 sets. That's a lot of push-ups. I can't do that many at all. I don't have more to comment. I just like how he says it all. And then he just flows through his verse, and it just has like this kind of airy, like his brain's just floating feel. Like ignoring your text like sweet babies who cry in church, because they ignore the messages they shouldn't be crying. Anyway, or if your partner got popped yesterday and school come first, which is a really drastically dark twist of when somebody would be like ignoring a text or making a bad situation, But
it also is a commentary on like the environment and the atmosphere he comes from. Like, as we know from a lot of the rap music we listen to, there's a lot of death and violence that happens in maybe so-called these areas.
We could just say,
whatnot.
As we know, because of freaking history.
Well, that too.
The news cycles
and
everything.
It's crazy how like your partner gets shot the day before, but you're still forced to like go to school and live your life. Like you can't really stop and take a moment.
And then immediately after, my favorite color is yellow. Maybe because I'm mellow and I got so much style. It's probably because I'm ghetto. And I like how he plays that, because there is something to be said about colorful stylings and shit being associated with poor fashion. And rich fashion is very bleak and not flashy, and really, honestly, it's so gray and boring. But then he kind of like comments, my family never cooked a Cosby dinner, as in he never had that nice home feel thingy, and oftentimes it took an L for Mrs. Winter, which is an interesting line, because it's like his health or his body takes an L, and Mrs. Winters, I believe, is a chicken line, so we got fast food chicken and shit. So it's almost like we never got that healthy good food. We were like losing by.
I think it's Miss Winters.
Whatever.
Oh, for Miss Winters, a Southern Fried Chicken fast food
Fine,
restaurant.
not shit, whatever. I'm about getting off the subject, off the book on my ledger, but the quote "packed light" starts to echo through. It's just fucking cool, man. It's just like the way he bears himself out on this through this like poetic vagaries. I really found it nice, and the way he delivers it's really cool. And then he just kind of like ends it on this. Tossing memories, socks, thoughts, who pretend to be, boxer brief, pants, pictures of frenemies killing me. So that's kind of what he's packing away, and it just ends with that, like the actual clothing, down to the point where even the people he thought he liked are coming at him, and he's getting rid of all these memories, just getting it all away to make room for the light. Lately I've been sober, chasing new highs. Cut the cord to my bungee. You can be yourself. Don't be shy. Take your time. Don't you rush things. So what he's saying there is he cut the negative energies and the negative space out of his life, because there's only so much room in your attention focus, and if you're taking all that attention to do negative, you don't actually see the light and start to see positive. Like, I know it's all corny, but like it all starts with mindset and perspective. So if your life is in the shittier parts of life, even if you don't agree with me, it really is going to start with you making different choices and decisions, and then your luck, quote unquote, will change. But I like how he also points out how he's been sober, so he's not fucked up being distracted, and through that sobriety it's like he's chasing new highs, and this new high is actually to embrace himself and to be himself and to just kind of grow at his own pace, because you don't rush shit, it just happens, but it's like it's worth doing. And I'm like, damn, that's a powerful fucking process.
I like the idea of like evading the ups and downs, like a bungee cord goes up and down, right? So I feel like there's a sense of stability that he's trying to achieve with just like cutting that cord that is attaching him and allowing him to just go.
Yeah. And then Mick Jenkins comes through, and I love how he starts it, which is why I don't get your whole materialism point on him. I don't think he raps that at all. Like, thought I bought a rollie, but forget that, I didn't need it. I'm like, yeah, that sounds respectable. That sounds more like what I would get from that, because, basically, it's they're really expensive. And you could buy a lot of things for the price of one rollie. Like a lot of really helpful and practical things, like pushing down payment of a house level of things, Just let the holy water wash over my Caesar dressing. Interesting line, holy water's Roman, Caesar. Not a great line to me. Like that Thursday in November, I guess that's Thanksgiving, that they'll remember style, because you take remembrance and whatnot. Alright, boil it down, let it simmer. We blow in smoke between the breeze. The twist are Senegalese. No more backwoods blowing. We ride this rings of memories. So it sounds a bit like, again, he's getting back in touch with his roots. Maybe he's stopped smoking weed at this point. He's kind of moving around. But what I really liked was when he goes, still got my hand on my weapon. He more Malcolm than Martin, a bit more Baldwin than both. So Malcolm, when you say you're more Malcolm than Martin, as I understand it, is you take the more militant, you're not afraid of violence if you have to approach, whereas Martin was the more abstain from violence form of activism. But then to say it's more accurate to be like James Baldwin, who is a bold writer who told stories to push forward things like expressing the black experience, but also apparently a lot of pushing forward the experiences of being a homosexual male. He had to like run to France and stuff to like try to like figure out his life. I don't know. I started reading up on him a bit because of this track. So there you go. You have me, Mick, if you're watching this, you have me learning about James Baldwin and getting curious enough to want to cop the dude's books at this point. Anyway, you need a cauldron for mixing a black man's soul into the soup. So many fish bowls can't cope. You cracking jokes about the soap. Be more concerned with the truth. I kind of like how he's trying to just seep through the bullshit and focus on what's right. and cutting through the charade of everyday living. Anyway, it was pretty cool. I liked the verse. It was strong. And then Dr. Dot comes through and does a verse that's a little bit out there, in my opinion, compared to the other two, but still an enjoyable experience. I feel like his delivery, like, he gets a little more airy and effect driven than the other guys. But having had those two verses, it kind of comes off in like a nice, pleasant surprise kind of way.
I do like how he starts his verse, though, Dr. Dot. I know what I know, but you heard what you heard, so you poked your head in, got suspicion confirmed, which is interesting because it's like, for me, I kind of took that as he does his own research, he follows up on what he needs, on what he wants to know in his own knowledge. But like, if you're not willing to be open-minded, then you're just listening to whatever you choose to listen to.
I totally took that like, I know what I know, as in I know about my life and what's up. I know how I live. I know what the truth is. But you heard what you heard about me. So you poked your head into my life.
Okay.
You snuck around for like 2 seconds. Oh, suspicion's confirmed. So you found a littlest bit of evidence, and to me it's almost like a commentary on Twitter and that kind of reality. Been on my feet for miles, so my soul got some burn, and I like that because you got the soles of your feet, and when you grind through for ages, it takes some fucking pain to your soul. Still, it's fuck how you feel on my bottle of pills. If you can't hold me down, then you don't get a turn. And I like that because it's like, I'm going to do what I got to do. Your opinion is irrelevant. And unless you're really in the squad holding it down, you don't even get a voice at the table and whatnot. Fame is worse. Nothing sacred no more. Either take what you want or make what you earn. If I kill you, I promise I'll pray for you first. Like, ooh, hallelujah. And I kind of like that. Like, it just is almost cutthroat, killer be killed kind of world that he's in. And if he does come down to having to murder you, he'll give you the decency of a prayer, which I thought was like just a cold-hearted, like, I'm a traditional person. I try to live by the rules, but if you force me to do what I have to do, it'll end up in this way. It's freaking awesome. I thought it was quite enjoyable to listen to. This one's a 4.5. This is my favorite one so far.
I as well gave it a 4.5 because I really did enjoy the overall music of it. Like, just the way the artist brought to life this song, the way that Mick Jenkins kind of, I felt like, toned down his voice and was a little bit more airy with it. I like how EARTHGANG really meshed up nicely with the song. It was great.
Alright, so we can move along then, as I guess we get to the halfway point, and we can flaunt. Next 4 songs are all approximately 2 minutes and 22 seconds long, within a couple seconds. I'm not gonna lie, I did not feel this one. I felt like, I get what he's doing here. He's commenting on, like, what people expect of him. They want him to stunt, to talk his shit, to front, flaunt my bitch. That's not what I do, though. So, you're going to hear my real shit when I come through. But, at the end of the day, everybody's asking him these stupid questions. Everybody expects him to act a certain way. It's almost like how everybody comments on J. Cole's fashion choices. Even though the man just wants to wear his simple sweats. Let the man be. Let him wear his socks and sandals, is all I'm trying to say. But when I look at, he kind of repeats it a lot. And then, kind of lets himself flex a bit of it, like spent $10K on tithes, like on taxes. Like, that's how much I made that I spent that much on taxes. Get backed up on me when it checks like that on the regular. So that's what happens when he makes that much money. Spent 20 minutes on the face, lips smacked up. Alright, so he fucked this girl. He's getting laid. Move the fuck around. You were regular to me. Don't act up. People talk loud on the jugular. Keep my head down in public, and I'm aced in the club. So he lives on the low. He does what he's got to do. See you clowns in Publix. People at the fake love. Roll the pack up. Put it to my face, and it's big, though. I'm like, okay, so he smokes pot. He's out there doing his thing. He's just enjoying his life. He's living the best kind of thing. So he's taking a second to, like, brag, and then he does, and it's like, it's honestly kind of boring, So he's almost trying to show, like, when I do it, in my opinion, it's not, like, the hypest experience. Like, in general, it's a hype song. You can vibe to it, but, I don't know. I just couldn't get into it. I felt like it proved its point effectively to me, but it was okay. The beat's all right. It was kind of like an attempt, I think, of doing the same thing, like Same Old, where he was tapping into that more generic sound. But
I think it could be a little bit satirical in a sense where it's like, because the way I hear it is like he's making a commentary, I feel, on what the viewers and the listeners want to have. It's like, I know a lot of people who want to hear real lyrics, real bars, really dive into some really, conversational topics and stuff. But it sounds like there is a lot of people or a hand group of people who just want to vibe and turn up. But a lot of that vibe and turn up music is a lot of like, I bought 2 cars, I bought this, I fucked your bitch, blah, 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 blah. And all of this like superficial materialistic bullshit that, as we've seen to get from Mick Jenkins, he doesn't seem to be like that. Which is why I kind of take this more as just a vibe. Like it's not as hype, but I
don't know. I'll give it a 4. I don't think it's that. I think it hits all the check marks of like it's engineered well. The beat sounds nice, but it isn't necessarily engaging. His delivery comes out kind of flat and bored. Like he's bored with the topic. He's bored with the question.
But I think that's the point. I think it's like he's making that.
But like in turn, I was kind of bored listening to it.
Fair.
Like this isn't like banging out like the other ones were, in my opinion, in terms of like poetry. I feel like it's more meta than it needs to be. Like the satire wasn't brilliantly delivered I guess maybe I'm wrong. Maybe y'all love the satire. I'm just like, I'm not feeling it quite like that.
I gave it a 4.1. I enjoyed it.
Anyway, the next track is called The Fit. I feel like this one's a little better, but I don't know, man. It's just so wavy and like very modern auto-tuney.
I feel like this has the same type of idea as the last track. When he says the fit, I feel like he's talking about the outfit, and I
think it's about the feel, how it feels, how like it comes off, because when you say the fit, it's how like the suit would fit you. So like if you're wearing something that doesn't have a good fit, it's gonna come off whack regardless of what it is. Like if you had a $2,000 suit but the fit was off, it would look cheap.
Which I understand that, but I'm saying like I feel like he's making another commentary on like people want to see you look rich, people want to see you in nice outfits and stuff like that. Like you have to look a certain way to get certain type of respect. Like sometimes people can't do shit. I'm watching motherfuckers copy. People use stencils. People aim Bansky. Backbone like number 2 pencils. I peep it early. Homie should thank me. Like it sounds like he's got his own confidence in wanting to wear what he looks like. And
it's not about the clothes, Chris. It's a metaphor for the style and integrity of the rap. As the rest of the song contextualizes with it, it's not about clothing. It is about clothing in the sense that sometimes people are vain enough to have clothing as like a focus, but like dropping jewels, people dying off the vapor. So it's like, I guess you can have that fancy whatever, but you're not really, there's no substance, it's just vapors and shit. Needed paper, I got paper. Needed a stapler, I got habits, I got problems, got enablers. It just sounds like he's putting together this world, this life that he's living. Peeping patterns, picking swatches, switching flavors, huh? So it's almost like when you think about that, I think the chorus is satirical. It's commenting on what a lot of people are actually describing in their sitch. Swatches is both a cheap watch company, but also a pattern of colors and whatnot, which I thought was cool because I didn't know what swatches meant. But then sometimes that shit just not it. So what he's saying is all of these topics just aren't like it. They don't fit right. They're not the fit. And it's just how do things fit when you listen to the track, right? Like, and it just comes off like a bunch of guys talking about wanting to fuck your girl or how they're addicted to drugs and stuff. When you really, really think about it, it's not hype. It doesn't fit right. You might disagree with me, but I'm gonna assume people digging the Mick Jenkins vibe might not disagree with me as much as the future crowd, let's say. But anyway, I need the real fuck to cap it and need an accurate description of what happened. So I think the issue is that when you're spitting the fake shit, it comes off like that. The fit doesn't feel right. Like you can tell when Benny the Butcher spits some shit that there's an authenticity to it that maybe other rappers don't have. And then because then it builds up to what you quoted there, but how refreshing is it? Look, these boys relaxing. What you stand on them Nikes. I'm just checking. And then it's almost like saying, okay, you got the Nikes. Is it because to Kaepernick? Is it because of what? What's the reason you have this going on? I respect the lighter flex and fuck a hype beast. People character so often they come typecast. Eddie Murphy, I ain't lacking no character. So what he's saying is people's fucking walking stereotypes, but he's as charismatic and energetic as an Eddie Murphy-like character. We try to compare us. Apparently we ain't lacking in parallel. Don't say what I said, my people. Please don't try to paraphrase. I had to come off the carousel, so I got out the game. Whatever. Don't try to compare us. We live in different lanes. We doing completely different things. It's not about clothing, dude. Right-handed people play high keys. Taking my talents to hockey flows too icy. Somebody stop me. I really enjoyed that part too. Just the way he rhymed it all. And then like the idea of taking my talents to hockey, the flow's too icy. Like my shit was dope. But then the idea of him going and being a black guy moving to hockey plays up on that stereotype that black people don't want to play hockey because it's too cold and whatnot. Then you're right, man. Then everybody can't do what he does. Copy him. They use boring stencils. People aren't Banksy. Banksy being a dope-ass British UK. Like people don't know who he is. He's an anonymous figure, but a crazy, interesting artist. And then, backbone, whatever. And then he ends it out just kind of on that competent, jumps back into the chorus. So ultimately what I'd take from this track is he the real shit, and you can tell because it fit right when you hear it. And I agree with you, Mick Jenkins. It totally fit right. Whereas many other people, it don't fit right, and then it doesn't feel nice. So I'm giving this one a 4.25. Sonically, it's not my favorite. I again think he played up on pop sounds and attacked pop music in the same clever way as what I was describing when we discussed Same Ol'. But yeah, I like this one.
I'll give it a 4.1.
Alright, the next track is called I'm Convinced. Madonna and Big Daddy Kane were at a party somewhere around 1990-ish or whatever. And Madonna came up to him and said, I'm a huge fan. And Big Daddy Kane didn't believe her. And then Madonna spit a Big Daddy Kane song at him perfectly. This ended up in resulting in Madonna inviting him to do a photo shoot with her naked in her sex book. Upon which you will find on the internet Big Daddy Kane holding up Madonna's titties with some other chick. Which really made me appreciate when he goes, we got some spillage, they won't pillage. I play Capadonna, Big Daddy Kane, ain't no half-stepping with this black Madonna. Because that made a really clever line with the connection between Big Daddy Kane and Madonna, how he keeps it real, showing back to the old school and stuff. But y'all should go check out those pics. Big Daddy Kane got to feel up Madonna on camera. He says they did not have intercourse, though. Anyway, Chris, how do you feel about I'm Convinced?
It's interesting. There's a certain feel of like having to be down with the squad. Need no convincing, homies know the feeling, stand on my own 10, need no co-defendants. So for me already with that chorus, it's kind of saying like he doesn't need any backup, he doesn't need anybody to co-sign him. He knows like he's going his own way, he's got his own vision, he's doing what he's got to do.
I took it more like, I don't have to convince people I'm the real shit. I don't need people to vouch for me. They just know it's the real by looking at me.
Fair enough. Don't need no inconsistencies if we're gonna roll together. No need no convincing. Homies know
the other side of it is you don't have to convince me neither. If the feeling's right, there's no convincing involved. You just know it's down the ride.
Absolutely. And then we flow into the first verse, which I thought it was cool. Not too much patience for the violations from the same cloth. It cut much deeper when it's my persuasion. Now I don't actually know what that line means, but I do like how
when your homies hurt you, it hurts more.
Cool. Depending on when and where you asking me my occupation, acknowledge haters always work in how you knock a person. Now I like how he ain't got time to be violated. He ain't got time for negativity. Like you said, when the negativity comes from somebody he knows, it sucks. But I like how he says, depending on when and where you ask me my occupation, it's kind of like if we're out in public, I have to act a certain way. But if we might be in private, I can be a little bit more honest.
I think it also, like, just, yeah. Go on.
Well, no, I was just going to say that kind of plays up on this whole, like, double life thing, kind of like...
Especially when he goes, Betty Crocker in the oven, I can't wait that long, like, the pressure's building up. I'm going, wait that long, I know somebody know the feeling. And I like that because you have to wait that long, you have to hold it in, you have to, like, behave a certain way, because... And I like how he questions how you knock a... Because he's saying, like, why you gotta hate, like, why you have to just come trash me or whatever. And I mean, there's a difference between criticism where it's like, yo... you could do it differently, or it may be like that track I didn't like. That track didn't connect with me, but I also still think you got to acknowledge the brilliance and the positivity and the things that are more interesting that come along the way. Whereas like a general form of hater would be just like, fuck Mick Jenkins. There's no fucking point listening to his music. It's just trash. Like, that's not criticism. That's just like, it's trash. What does that mean? Why is it trash? That's just you being a hater. It's honestly more polite to keep your feelings to yourself in that moment. You can call me trash if you want. I'm just talking about the lyrics here. Anyway.
Fair enough. I like when he goes, we did the floors, we did the walls. I do not want a ceiling. I want what's to come. I want what's come to me, and they gonna try to cap the building. Now I like
Which is
that.
dope because then it goes to Capadonna line.
Right, but I do like that because it's like I like how he's taking that that charge of we built the infrastructure, but I ain't trying to put no ceiling. The sky's the limit. Like, we're always gonna try to keep moving on up forward. Then the Capadonna line, which I didn't really.
I want what's to come to me, and they're going to try and cap the building, meaning that I'm going to have oppositions and haters. These people we were previously describing is going to try to put a cap on the building to stop their ability to building. So it's a cool line because cap the building means block the building, as in building your empire, but simultaneously the literal building that he was describing. And then, whatever, kind of shutting it back. Extract charm. I made some commas off my pain and suffering. The same ones around me been bros since the snow was on the bluff. They know what's up. So he's saying now the same people that are in his squad are the same one that's been around since way back when. And they've been riding in this way. They got that feeling. They know what's real. And they keep on grinding. And because there are fake fuckers in the squad, that he has no patience for this no more. And then you got the second verse. He's like, I ain't gotta say it twice. I ain't gotta canvas this big brush dress. I'm paying life. That's tenfold if it's understood. I gotta get better back if we playing dice. My bitch is a 10. My money good. Don't diss my point. Hit 7 twice. So it feels like he's lucky. He's aiming big. He's doing all the success power games, and he's killing it, And I really respect that. Ain't nothing around you set in stone, especially not your fucking life. The truth sometimes ain't nothing nice, and the lies are always underpriced. And I love that because he's pointing out, like, you can act away. You can feel a certain way. You can even come at me hostily, but at the end of the day, your life is not permanent, And the truth, the reactions to situations, when you do talk your shit, you might not like them, A lot of people ain't gonna understand. They're not gonna hear a word. Feel like the shit's braille, intimate, no kiss and tell. I know somebody out there feel me, somebody I can't fucking tell. When it's time to really speak up, people love to tuck their tails. People love to duck that smoke. Y'all know exactly how I feel. So he's pointing out there how there are people who are going to hear this message and completely get what he's trying to say and connect to them, and those are the people who are the squad, his fans, his boys from back then and whatnot. I get what you're saying here. I feel like I'm included in that squad. Maybe you don't feel the same way, Mick, but I feel that way. But other people are going to hear this message and not understand that he's talking about that, like, loyalty or how to, like, think in a certain way and vibe. And honestly, the haters that you're going to encounter in life are honestly just people jealous of you, who aren't on that same wavelength, who are living in different ways. And then when the success doesn't come to them, they lash out negatively instead of adapting their own lives to accomplish the bigger goals. Now, I'm not going to say everybody should live like I live, and not everybody's goals are my goals, but I can tell you that everybody I know that tries to achieve the goals to the same level that I do in their own ways achieves, right? And all of us, it all started with this, like, internalization of having the right feeling. So I get what he's saying, man. I don't need no convincing. I feel you, Mick. I like this track. I thought it was alright. I'm convinced it's better than the last one, so I gave it a 4.35.
I did enjoy it. I like the production of the song a lot. I like the melodic tone that the instrumental carried through. I like how there was just this solidification of, like, not needing to ask any questions, just knowing when the time is right and you meet people and you know if you're down with the squad or not. You just know, and you keep moving forward. I did enjoy that.
But what's also brilliant is you also know when shit's not right and who's the snake. And that's a cool, like, extra play that isn't said, and I like that too.
Absolutely. I actually gave the song a 4.5 on 5.
That's fair enough. Sometimes when we review, there are different scales. I like this song. I don't know, something about the beat that has, like, this old school kind of draw me in feel that just makes me instantly like this track, like, a little bit more. Like, we've gone through this little circus, these exploring maybe some different topics, how to deal with it, because it feels like the circus at this point is like your interactions with other people. and how like in more in that vein than say like life and society in general. It almost feels like it's just Twitter or you know, that world. Like socially, it's like a circus of, it's hard to trust anyone in this game when everyone's putting on a show and being completely fake and whatnot. So I really like that. Which is why when he starts this with a sniffle, and I have a cold, and we up in Montreal where the cold is common, I appreciated that sniffle as like the absolute favorite part of the. I'm kidding. It's not my favorite part of the track, but it really did make me happy. But what do you think about this two-verser?
I thought it was cool. I thought that it was a nice way to kind of end the project in this like somber, pensive kind of feel a little bit. I like when he says, they just want the hooks, got me out here fighting sickle cell. Homies sound like crooks, and in front of cameras, I hear crickets. Now have some art commissioned, more than living off the ticket sales. You for the gram, we weigh in this shit on different scales. Now, I really enjoyed that. I'm interested to know if he is actually fighting sickle cell. Or if it's just like he's kind of building up this picture for friends that he may know or people in his area. But I like how he uses the word gram in terms of like Instagram. Could also be talking about maybe people who are out there, you know, in that type of world dealing or whatnot. And he's making that difference with himself, saying that we're on different scales. We look at different things. We want different things, which is still in the same type of connection of dividing himself from the pack, from the rest of what we've been getting.
Well, it's like we evaluate success in different ways. So I love that you for the gram, because that's a double entendre on both Instagram and drugs, right?
Right.
And then he's like, I'm not for either of those lives. I'm trying to measure it. Also, the idea of having art commission, like I'm creating a higher value thing while you're worrying about little low end sales over here. Yeah, I feel like this track kind of drills the point in that he is of a higher quality and how he does evaluate life. And again, it's not self-righteous, but like of a higher path than other people. Like he chooses the harder road, you know? Like just at the beginning, in pole position, I had to strip it down. We really fucking with division. They were feeding me the bread. Well, come 11 and the water only trickled down. Need pumpernickel. Wasn't fucking with the fickle minds. This shit would get bumpy over time if we pickle beats. And they just wanted the hooks, got me out here fighting sickle cell. So what I'm hearing here is he wants to create a particular sound, and while other people were trying to come in and offer him maybe deals and money and all this other shit, what he realized is things weren't coming down. He needed a particular brand of maybe superiority, but people were just kind of inconsistent, fickle, not down for it. They just want catchy whatever bullshit instead of like actually going there. And then maybe the sickle cell line is almost like oh, you're black, you can do this, you can come off like that, you know. So it's kind of playing on the stereotype. And then I don't know, I just thought it was cool. It woke me so no picket fence. I know we grew up on different streets. It woke me up. I know it's more people counting sheep, bouncing checks, trying to slide off the counterfeit. They hella foul people out here playing county ball. And I'm like, that's interesting. So he's pointing out in this point, y'all don't have the money you say you have.
Right.
Y'all living a fake life. They're still bounty saw. Shame they'll never win a Golden Globe for how fucking good their acting jobs are, for how they present themselves. Anyway, it's kind of like...
I like what he says in verse 2. You're elevating, you elevating minds, or you fucking the blind and ducking the smoke. Sup with the swine, but wanna be goat. You really just sheep. You wanna be woke. You really just sleepwalked in front of me, man. What are these jokes? I really enjoy, like, he's really stating you have to, if you wanna be... For me, I kind of take it as his level of success is elevating people up and changing the way people think, and really...
It's about your intentions. He's questioning. Are you elevating minds, or are you fucking the blind and ducking the smoke? So are you elevating minds, or is your career a bunch of lies and bullshit to take money from kids and shit? And then when you get called on it, you like, oh, well, whatever, man, I'm not a role model. You know, sup with the swine, but want to be goat. So, like, that could be a question on, say, eating pig or whatever, being unclean, but you want to be goat, you really just sheep, playing on the different animals is pretty dope. So it's pointing out that y'all a bunch of followers, y'all are able to be the leaders you claim to be. You want to be woke, but you really just sleepwalked in front of me, man. What are these jokes? So it's like people are trying to say they cut him off in their lane. He's like, it's a joke. You ain't able to touch me like that. So it's more like the intentions and purity of what I bring to the table is something bigger. you know, then you're fake shit. Because like it starts off like, Sosa caught his shit right here. The zoo, multiple elephants in a room, ain't nothing new.
But I wanted to ask if the viewers know, but I think that's Chief Keef.
Yes.
Okay,
It's absolutely. 'Cause I'm a gorilla in a fucking zoo.
Well, right, but I'm saying like Sosa is what Chief Keef.
It's Chief Keef.
Right, and then I just want to make sure they were friends. That's it.
Yeah. Anyway, but like multiple I don't know if they're friends, but
it's not the first time he's quoted Chief Keef.
But it's the commentary and significance of it, right? Like Chief Keef is huge in hip hop culture. Like maybe not so much now, but I mean his commentary and the way he's painting. They're both from Chicago, I think, too. So to comment on the Chicago situation, I might be wrong about Mick Jenkins, but I think they're both from Chicago. Anyway, multiple elephants in a room ain't nothing new. I like how he follows that up, because the elephant in the room being like the fake shit, whatever. You know, poachers done settled in, they're using sedatives too. I'm still preaching the same element, exploring business ventures with my fellowship. So what I like about that is
he's from Huntsville, Alabama, United States.
Fair.
Well, born.
Where did he grow up? Where did he grow up?
I'm looking. Go.
Anyway, so then you look at that elephants, right? So he kind of has all these elephants. How do you catch an elephant? You would use sedatives. How do you get a bunch of rappers to like come do what you want? You give them a bunch of painkillers, a bunch of sedatives. So he's still kind of pointing out the truth of it. I just like the verse. I think in general it's got like a powerful way. He uses poetry and eloquency to kind of describe his integrity, as opposed to necessarily just kind of calling shots at other people. He makes it about the intentions of how they live their lives. And so I really like this track. Ultimately, I give it a 4.5 on 5, and it's one of my favorite ones on this project.
I as well gave the song a 4.5 on 5, and his origin is Chicago, Illinois, U.S., but he was born in Huntsville, Alabama.
That's fair, but I remember something about Chicago from the last time. Plus, I think he was on the No Name project as a feature. I could be wrong about that. Anyhow, that's what I'm at with this 4.5. I like the fact that, because you know what, I feel like I evaluate life on different scales. People might measure my YouTube success by the just under 2 legions, if we count by Roman numeral armies. A legion is 1,000 people, so just under 2 legions of subscribers. Maybe that's a lot, maybe that's a little. I count it by the number of famous people that have shouted us out or noticed us. That is my metric of success. There are more famous people now that know who I am than if I had never done this channel, and that to me is real success in my mind in terms of trying to move up there, because it really is about exposure to the right people. Maybe the masses don't know who I am. Maybe the masses also don't have 5G data yet, and maybe when you can watch my thing on the bus, it might be a little easier and it doesn't kill your data plan. It's coming, folks.
Right.
Just not to Canada. Anyway, what did you give this track?
I gave the track a 4.5.
Awesome. So for this project, to close it all up, I gave the album a 4.31 on 5. I feel like there's a couple of tracks that weren't for me, but there's a couple of tracks that really are for me. I like the versatility. I like the fact that we get like 5 or 6 styles coming out of him here. We get to see him do more modern stuff, more traditional sounding stuff, but across the board, no matter what he's saying, the core essence of the man Mick Jenkins retains consistent to a point where I find him very believable. I really respect the man. I think he stands up to the ethics and integrity that I feel are important. Like, I feel like he's using this album as an opportunity to educate people on how to almost, in a sense, or at least relate to the idea of trying to stay yourself and be pure in the midst of all of the dealing with the circus, you know? So I think he really accomplished his goal on the lyrical front, made a nice, concise project, and it's a great way to start the year. We're seeing some excellent music dropping. It's not even February yet.
I give it a 4.3 on 5. I thought the album was really, really cool. I listened to it a couple times before reviewing it. I listened to it on the walk here. I like the fact that it's pretty short, and the music is very just well done. Like, it doesn't get boring, it doesn't get old, it just kind of flows right through, and it's a nice little 20 minutes. So
I mean, if this is going to be a trend where people drop 20-minute projects, I'm okay with it if they sound like this. Like, I really am. Your project doesn't have to be like 15 songs every time. So his last project was long, this project's short, but I feel like it did its job and it communicated its point. And sometimes that's all an album has to do, is to come in, do what it's got to do, and get the fuck out. Anyhow, thank y'all for watching. Totally appreciate y'all being here with us. It always means the world. I mean, realistically, if you don't watch the show, we're just people talking on a camera, and then there wouldn't be just under 2 legions of people subscribing to the channel. I mean, maybe we've passed 2 legions by the time you see this. It trips me out. Like, I know it's not a huge YouTube number, but it's a huge number if you think about it in real life. Anyhow, we appreciate y'all. Look forward to your comments. I'll definitely answer you. We can have some chit chats about Mick Jenkins or anything else. If you're in Montreal or wherever you are, tell us about the weather. It's always a fun topic, I guess. Like the video if you did. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews. Let us know what you think about anything. And special thanks to the patrons: Ismail Gadamsi, Chris Prado, Jonathan Barnes, DJ Black, Hurricanes, Lindell Williams, Coney Sparks, and Scribble. They're dope. They support what we do. Helped us get the new camera. Helped us get on Spotify. They're going to help us get to the next level. And if you think we dope and want to help us grow and redecorate and move into a fresh new year, Patreon's a great way to support us. And if you do that, you can tell us what albums to review. That'll be mad dope of you and all that good stuff. Plus, we make music ourselves. You can check that out on this channel, on Spotify. I dropped an album in October. I'm working on a new one now. Looking forward to getting that out to y'all. And again, let us know what you think about anything. And as always, live long and prosper, everyone.